All right, let's call the Murray County Education Order. Members, you got a copy of the agenda for this evening. Are there any changes? Hearing none, then I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Motion by Brenda.
Second.
Second by Kelly. All in favor? It is approved. I'm going to ask you to please stand and pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Your gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, for your many blessings. Lord, we thank you for each and every student, each and every teacher, administrator, Lord, support staff. We just ask God that you be with this board tonight, Lord, as we look over the business of the school system. And God, that you'd help us to make the best decisions for our school system. And Lord, I pray that you just keep each and every one that's here and our students safe. Lord, you know what each and every one goes through. And we just ask, Lord, that your will be done. Ask all these things in your name. Amen. Amen. Next item is the consent item. You've got a copy of the minutes for March 3rd and March 7th. On March 7th, on the personnel list, there was one where me and Aaron abstained, but I don't see it. Heath led it. I don't remember the two numbers.
Okay.
I'll go back and check, but it's not on here, that's all.
Okay, I'll check it.
Okay. Are there any other changes, corrections? All right, next is the Superpotential Report.
Okay, the first thing that we have under operational effectiveness, and we have several items there, as you can see, so, if Mike, you come on up here, the first one is probably the easiest one out of the section, that is CTA service items, you see those there, those are some items that, was came from the construction lab and the old home ec lab, that we no longer need, and so we would like the board consents that we would like to surplus those to avoid a lot of them coming away. Now, in the construction lab over there, there's a new grant, and there'll be a lot of new items that Wade will be getting in place of these. And these are some items that, one, they don't use that much anymore, and they're kind of outdated, and a lot of them don't have, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, some of them don't have, they don't fit into the dust collection system over there, and they can't, if they run them very much, the whole construction lab gets dust, sawdust, and you can't see. So we will be getting some more equipment, one that will work better with a new ventilation system that we'll put in.
I think there might be two changes on there as well. There's a power-matic bandsaw, the first item on the list. That's going to come off the surplus list because we're going to absorb that into the maintenance department and in the new shop when we grade it. Okay. Sorry, Gary. And then the last one in the construction lab, which is the power-matic belt disc sander. Tyson is going to absorb that into the metal shop. So we're going to take those two off. And what Dave's plan on that is he's going to put it out for bid, if you guys approve the surplus, he can put it out for bid, the minimum bids on these items. He's gotten with somebody that has worked with him on pricing the items as is, and he will put a minimum bid out there so that he's getting what he knows is at least the value of it. If he doesn't reach that bid, then he'll no sell it.
Who's he gonna bid it for?
He'll put it out for advertisement. We'll post
On
it.
the website thing? Is it gonna be on the website?
It'll probably be on our website.
Okay. And probably on Gov Deals too.
Maybe Gov Deals. I don't know if Daniel's gonna put it on Gov Deals or not, but I know he'll put it on our website as well.
GovDeals.com.
Yeah.
We like to know that, how much,
That's what we love.
I don't have
do they
prices.
work?
Yeah, most of them work, yeah, I just don't know what the price is that they're gonna have on it.
Okay.
He didn't give those.
Yeah, I'm not, that's next, maybe for a reason. It's cheap, I could expect this.
Yeah. That's what I want.
Okay. Good deal.
Good with that? Any more questions? Okay.
The furniture bids, we bid and we've been struggling for months to try to get, furniture bids from the vendor and exactly what we're gonna order. You have the total, it's multiple pages, and as you can see somewhere through there, and, the total on Gladden, that's everything new was 600 and some odd thousand, the total on Northwest was another 600 and some odd thousand, all together it's about 1.3 million, so which is more than, what we really need to spend, so we've gone and talked to Daphne today, Roger and Mike, and we looked and we know there's certain things that at those schools, we don't have to replace, such as maybe all the student desks at Gladden are pretty good shape, because they're just like the ones at Bagley. So we could probably not do those, and then a few other items, and Roger and Amy were gonna go through some things, their desks are not in as good a shape throughout the building as they are at Gladden, but they may not need them all, so they're gonna kind of look through that to see, so we're gonna, not voting on anything tonight anyway, we wanna try to pare that down a little bit. We know just for example, if you just take the student desk and chairs out under Gladden, that's $222,000 right there, so that's a pretty significant amount. So then there's some other things, so we just got this, it's been out for 30 days, and then it came back, and then we hadn't had a board meeting to, go over it, so we need to we'll try to pare it down a little bit, and we'll come back with what we're taking off for a final number on Monday, if that's all right for everybody. And Roger's got it, Daphne's got it, and so Mike, and then we'll go through it to see what we can pull off to get it down there a little more acceptable number, I guess.
Is, when I was looking at this, it was like we're getting everything new.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
okay, so are we not going to use anything that's there?
Well,
That's what you're going to go back and look at, right?
What we're going back to look at, because and one thing is, like I said, the student desk, at Gladden are all pretty good, they're just like the ones at Bagley. So, we take those off, that's $222,000. The teacher desk at Gladden, now that's a whole nother thing, those were there when the school was built, there's some pretty bad ones there. There is some things that, in staying on Gladden, I mean, they need some science tables, as you will also see in there, this bid for BSN Sports on some weight equipment, P equipment that they don't have. I mean, that one needs to stay. And then there's, in the media center at Gladden, some of those things are pretty good, the shelving's probably not the greatest, so that's something else that's negotiable. I get Northwest, for example, their desk throughout the building is not, some of them are pretty bad. Remember, all that stuff got wet.
Yeah.
It's really old before it even got wet.
And some of it fell apart when we were trying to, as it got moved back and forth, because remember, it stayed in storage for the longest, before we could ever get our stuff back, so. It's a little bit more of a wholesale change there at Northwest, but we do think we can limit it down some, so. That's what, we'll have that, the number pared down, but you're right, that is if you replaced everything, but to go back and remember, like at Gladden, for example, the school's 50 years old, but the desk had been replaced, but not the teacher desk. A lot of the cabinetry at Northwest got wet and fell apart, so there's.
So like here under, at Northwest where it says cafeteria, would that not come out of
Yes,
Amanda's budget?
yes, because those, remember the tables at Northwest, Roger, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we built Spring Place new, those tables weren't that old, and they were better than what was at Northwest, so the tables that are at Northwest now came out of the old Spring Place.
Correct.
School. So.
And I've already taken that 44,000 out of this, on the way.
So, but yes, they would come from food service. Any other questions about furniture?
Steve, is that three bids that we're looking at?
Yes, it is.
And there's a lot, there's 95,000 difference in the lowest to the medium, and then 290 from the highest to the lowest.
The lowest bid, if you'll pay very close attention, a lot of those were no bids. They only bid on certain
I
things.
see.
So that's not even a complete bid when you're looking at that lowest bid.
Is the quality of the furniture?
Quality of furniture means something. And
Is
I
it
will
the
say
same?
this, school specialty bid, they actually came and visited with Matt and Daphne at Gladden. They never stepped foot in Northwest Elementary School, so they just made a bid based off what we advertised and put in some of the furniture they thought would fit in that school and that would go. So it's really not apples to apples because some of their bids, even at Gladden, are substitute bids. And I'm not gonna say we gotta choose one or the other, because I've talked with Daphne, and Daphne's good with either bid, with the furniture that she saw and talked with the guy, but, they did not go and visit with Roger, and they didn't go into his school and measure out everything, they just went by a simple bid document that we had online. So. And
Do
that
you
was-
use
that
the
was
different
school
companies?
specialty.
I mean, we can use,
Absolutely.
Northwest is too far north.
that's what I'm saying, they
Gas,
have to drive up
gas
there.
is expensive.
Well, that's another thing.
I can't sell it to houses.
You know, we've been trying for months, it was like herding cats, trying to get somebody from anybody to come wanna go through and inspect out and give us a bid, and then it was, you'd think people will sell you something, but I don't know if it's just the way the time.
The rep from Virgo came and spent a whole day with me.
Virgo did?
Yes, went room by room, the whole, and let me figure out what to do for every room. He came and stayed the whole
And then they
day.
came to Gladden.
And let me throw this out there, they were actually the company that y'all voted to approve furniture bid for Spring Place. They did Spring Place.
Virgo was?
Yes.
I don't know if there's on here, but I got 2 tables that I purchased myself in Kingbone that were 36 by 72. I will give somebody if they want them. My husband will be real glad to get those out for him. So, but I mean, if they were good for kindergarten, I mean, they're just, but there's nothing wrong with them.
I'm sure we can find a place for them.
Amanda probably needs like 3 tables.
Well, I mean, free,
Right.
most of the free's good.
So we will, work on the list to try to get the number down a little bit more, for things that we, it'd be nice to have, it don't cost anything to ask. But then when you get the price back, then you say, well, what is it that we really need, what will we, what's okay to keep what we've got, so.
Well, like, I mean, when you got like the teachers for like a certain grade or the school, and they all pick the same time, so they'd be interchangeable if you needed one or
Most
the other.
everything that we got is identical.
Okay.
The only thing that will change is if we had some tables or chair heights that need to be different because of the age of the children.
Any others? Okay, next is our lighting bids there for this is, North Murray Tennis Courts and Murray County High School Girls Softball, and they're broken out there, and this would be, Musco Lights, would be the brand of lights, and, so,
Well, we opened up the bidding process and we had a pre-bid meeting and we had, 8 different companies represented during the bid meeting. They all walked both facilities with us over at Murray County High School softball field. They walked the tennis facilities up there. They asked questions and got answers from power sources and what our preference on things were. When we turned the page from that and allowed them to have time to put the bids together, when we got the bids back, we really had 4 bids together. I'll go through them. The first bid, which is a company called Etrinsic. Okay, Etrinsic and Energy Solutions. They bid an off-brand light. Okay, because they made a company in Atlanta makes the LED lighting and stuff, and they put a bid in, and they were substantially lower, but it was not what we asked them to bid. They asked for permission to, they sent the specs, we looked at the specs and stuff, but we did have trouble with one of the companies actually had their installer make the actual bid, and he didn't actually come to the bid meeting, so we had to throw one of those 2 bids out. So that left us with West Cobb Lighting and Cobb Electric was our Musco representatives, and their bids were Cobb Electric was $387,009. West Georgia Lighting was $345,700. Those were broken down into separate bids for the individual schools. And I thought I had those in here. Yeah, they're broken down by facility, so you know where those facility prices are, but total bids were those, and that would be West Georgia Lighting would have the lowest of the Musco bids on those 2 facilities, and we got them both because we've already been talking about getting lights on North Murray's tennis courts. Well, obviously that's our priority because they've not had them and can't hold those home matches up there without the lights, but the softball one's on there because we have found out that the poles have been compromised by woodpeckers and those old wooden poles, and that's a decision we can make.
they're hollow.
They've got woodpecker nests inside.
Murray
Softball field.
Has any one of these companies we done business with before?
Cobb Electric put in their lights right here at the football stadium. Most recently, that was the most recent person that's worked with. I'm not sure if we've ever done anything with West Georgia Lighting or not.
What we have not, but they're, reputable, we must go, they don't want us to do stuff, so.
He thought he had, the Musco rep thought he had 3 vendors from his area that would went and bid on it, but only 2 of them turned in bids.
Any questions? And of course, we would, if y'all vote on this on Monday, and, but it won't, if you were to approve it, then, it won't take time to order the stuff, it won't happen till this summer. So, hopefully, we do, if you approve the softball bid, that'll be the one, try to get it done before they, start the softball.
They told us that it would probably be we finished completion of the softball field by the end of July if we went ahead and went with that bid. Now, the tennis one would have until next tennis season to get it done, so we have plenty of time on it, but the softball one would be kind of a crunch time. They would want to try to be done by
31st of July, if they can get the material.
All right, Georgia Power lighting agreement.
Yeah. So most of you know, a few weeks back, we had got hit in the crosswalk here at the Murray High campus. What we found out was the cross street lights weren't on that particular morning, so Georgia Power come out and fix those. We've had the deal with the city that we went in halves with them and put in crosswalk flashing signs now. And what we realized is this parking lot down here is so dark that what we have is a lot of students that walk from these rental units down here, up here, across the street to the high school. You can't see them until you actually get to the crosswalk. So the flashing lights at the crosswalk now is the first indication that people even see somebody. So I contacted Georgia Power. They came out, sent an engineer up in Atlanta. We walked around this area right here. We even went back to the back, around the back where the ag barn is and stuff, and what he's found is he can add additional lights up here for us for an additional cost on our power bill. It's not gonna cost us anything for the install on them. It'll just be an added balance on our power bill for the central office area. What he is gonna do is take down a pole where we tore down the old ag barn in the back, because there's a pole with a light on it there. He's gonna take that off and reduce the price per month that we're already paying, because it would come off of the deal. And then he also found some outdated lights around there he's gonna replace for us for free and put in the new LED lights that are going on today's market for us as well while he's here. So if y'all approve this deal, then that would go into place and he'll get it. We've already signed a contract saying that Mr. Locker says, yeah, we're okay with doing it. So as soon as y'all say, yeah, we're ready to do that, then we'll light this whole parking lot up so that people can see those students as they approach the sidewalk as well.
So you can't see when you walk up these steps when we live here at night. I mean, when the time, it's completely dark up there.
So the kids that walk, they don't go to the intersection across the street, they cross up here?
They cross through this parking lot.
Well, now the light, now it's sunlight, but.
Well, in the mornings it's dark.
It's dark, yeah.
Sun don't come up until right now.
You
In the
walk over and you're
afternoons,
sleeping.
in the afternoons, now.
Retirement.
They're, some of them are ours, some of them are actually Georgia Power.
What about across the street from
Murray County High School. This is Georgia Power, but I'm not sure. Do they do the lights in the parking lot?
My brother-in-law questioned me because if you look at night, those lights put off a purple hue.
Mm-hmm.
And those are bad bulbs that need to be replaced if they go out, because they're supposed to be a warranty with them.
Yeah.
So that's why I was making sure. If it's Georgia Power's problem,
I'll
talk to
Brandon when I talk to him.
but if it's ours, they make sure we get them changed for warranty.
Okay.
Now, yes, there's, cause correct me if I'm wrong, but I've looked at this, didn't we a few years ago replace all the lights around that parking lot with Georgia Power? I think we did. I mean, cause it's under a similar agreement. This is like.
I'd say
four or five
it's
years
on
ago.
us,
Yeah.
different than if it's on them.
We'll be up here when you look, but I'm not 99% sure, but I mean, I know those are Georgia Power.
Brad might have answered that question.
Yeah, those are Georgia Power.
But we've updated the LED within the last 10 years, so I know they still be in warranty.
Well, he said they carry through the warranty, but when they start doing that purple hue, it all starts going down.
Any other question about lights?
That would be how much additional a month? $282?
$282 a month.
I think that will also be minus the bulb he's gonna take off back there, so it's a little less than that, I think. Jim.
All right, the next item, Mr. Hunt out there, if he probably come up here and help us too, we've got a redistricting coming, we mentioned that under, board discussion, we had a handout at the last meeting, we got big blow-ups. And, you know, just to go back and to interject, the purpose for this is not because we want to redistrict or we want to confuse parents or to confuse anyone about what school to go to, or just because we want to hear people complain, because we do not. Our issue is the overarching goal, and the whole reason for this is because the decrease in the population size of Eton Elementary. And we want to keep that school above 450, which is the base school size in the state of Georgia. And 450 is an important number because you do not get state funding if once you get on the below 450, which is just a quick lesson, you can't happen to you in one year because the way the QBE allotments are figured, it's it's a third of a spring number, and it's two times two separate fall numbers. So when your school starts getting close, you have plenty of time to do something about it if you choose to do so. So we have plenty of time. That's why we're bringing it up now, but we want to go ahead and get started. We'd like to do it for next school year. We know we've had kindergarten registration, but Kathy and everyone, we've made everyone aware, depending upon where you are, you could not be going to Chatsworth, you could be going to Eton, depending on what happens. But these numbers, and then here again, all these numbers are projection. Nothing is exact, but it seems to be based off of, Terry and Mike, what the routes of where we get the most kids from Infinite Campus, where people live, the things that make the most logical sense is what we've got here, and I'll let them explain it more, but the whole reason is to keep Econ above 450, so you get state funding for your assistant principal, your counselor, and your media specialist. If you go below 450, you don't get it. You're paying for it locally. So that's why we're doing this.
So last month, we actually gave each of you a map to look at stuff. This is just a big blow up of what it is, but the areas that we're talking about are going to be this area right here on Duval Road, which is currently Chatsworth. Old Federal Road North that comes all the way down to the railroad tracks, all the way to where you cross over the railroad tracks here. And then Jackson Lake Road, Hyde and Tyler Road, and then Tom Terry Road out here. All of that section right in this little area right there will gain us somewhere in the neighborhood of 74 elementary kids. I don't know if did we ever get a number on the high school, middle school counts? Do you remember?
Yeah, I run them numbers. I'm going to say it was around 30 to 40.
Yeah. The one thing that we're looking for
that's our numbers, not in.
Yeah, we're looking for those magic numbers to keep Eton above 450. And that is in the future, if their population continues to go down a little bit, you're going to say, how many kids do we need to stay above 450? This right here is giving us an opportunity to say that 74 that have those addresses from the elementary schools would change. Now, would all 74 of them go? No, because only about 45 of them or so ride the bus. The other 30 are car riders. So some of them may choose to stay in that Chatsworth district because they're already going there and they have transportation, can ride the transportation. We would be looking at those that have to ride the bus, only ride the bus.
Oh, so it's, okay, so it's only.
Not only. Everybody in that district could go, but y'all are gonna probably more than likely give somebody the option to say, well, I wanna stay where I can. We just can't provide school transportation for them.
That's the same way we did it with
Yeah.
So looking at that, this is the area that you're talking about right here. All of this road down through here, and then those roads right there. So if we split it over and say, what's the proposal look like? What y'all are looking at is, here's that change we talked about. Down to industrial, all of Old Federal Road North, Hyde and Tyler, Jackson Lake, Tom Terry. Those would go into the the Eton, Bagley, North Murray district at that point.
Isn't there a little road, that subdivision that goes off, Duval?
Yeah, you got
Grace.
multiple ones.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't see.
You have Greystone.
So Greystone would be changing.
Greystone would change, and then is it Clear Creek?
Clear Creek, everything on Duval from industrial to 411.
And then you also have,
Okay,
a little set of apartments there on top of the hill too.
yes.
You do, Clear Creek is about full, they pulled their last building permits, so there's gonna be a few more in there. Building has started back in Greystone on the backside of it now. Could be some in there, that's an unknown, but yes, it would encompass Clear Creek and Greystone.
Has anybody checked to see how many students are supposed to go to econ that don't attend econ? Is there a way to know that? Like, are we missing these students because they're going to another school? Like, teachers' kids understand they can go, but like, are they just students that maybe are using somebody's address that are going to another school but need to be going to econ?
Well, unless what they've gotten caught would address it, they would provide the school that's false. I don't know where we can go back and check whether those are, because they're giving us the wrong address. You don't know until that person's been turned in to the wrong district.
But as long as they're driving.
Yeah.
They are, and then there's sometimes we catch them being brought in with cars that we have investigated to see that.
And and we've also tried to double check how does this impact the community as well. We know, Jackson Lake, which is, we're right, where am I at?
Right there, you got your hand right there, old Jackson, right there.
Okay, it's not highlighted, but thinking about the Jackson Lake housing project for the boys' homes out there. Well, they've always been Chatsworth kids, because they came to me when I was at Chatsworth, so we contacted them and talked to them. Right now, they have nobody in the home, and the lady that's over it says that, no, it won't affect them, they won't have a problem getting their kids to econ and stuff as well. And she just appreciated us giving them a heads up. So, we're trying to think outside the box, and who else is out there that may need to be contacted about what we might do. So, that's just added info for you.
So if a family that's in that green that we're moving,
Mm-hmm.
if they do not want to go to econ, what do they need to do?
They could stay at Chatsworth as long as they provide their own transportation.
And we would
Give them that opportunity.
it would be like any other, those, students would be put on a contract. Just like any other out of district student, so if they, if they get in trouble, they miss school, they don't have good grades, then that's an incentive, see, we can use, or they'll have to go to econ, so. Now where the sticking point can be sometimes is, let's say I live on, Jackson Lake Road, and I've got a third grader at Chatsworth, and I'm willing to haul my child to keep going to Chatsworth, which, they go to Chatsworth and to Gladden and then on to Murray High. But I've also got a younger sister that's gonna start kindergarten in 2 years from now. That don't apply to the kindergarten. They'd have to go to econ, because even though it's family, and that's what we discussed, if you keep allowing, exceptions, you never get, because remember, the goal is to keep econ at 450. If you keep allowing exceptions, you never accomplish your purpose. So,
So y'all are pretty sure that this will get enough to pay 450?
Well, we're about what are we at, Liz, about 450 something?
455, I think.
Yeah, we're close, so, and, it's not 1 year, it's not gonna happen. So it's basically 3 FTE accounts, it's 2 spring, one fall, 2 falls and 1 spring. So you've got time, so we don't know that this, we know we've identified 70, we may not get 70, might only get 40. But we've got enough time that we can see, because we don't know exactly who's gonna be in kindergarten. There's too many unknowns
That's why you don't wanna put it off and wait a couple of years when you start dropping down below, and then you've got, it's kinda do or die, you've gotta be sure, you know, so.
Okay, what about kindergarten, it's gonna start with their first child, and they wanna drive them, they have to leave them, right?
If you hadn't got anybody in Chatsworth now, then you won't
Okay.
get a choice, you have to go with that.
Anybody else got a question?
We like for y'all to leave y'all your phone number, so when we start. Any other questions? I'm sure we'll, hopefully, you know, so we just, and I'm sure you'll get contacted, it's not, just always see what we change, that's not the reason, because if you don't do something, the conversation that you do not wanna have is in about 3 or 4 years from now, when you're not getting state funding for any time, and you're thinking about, do you close the school or not? What do you do? Now, you talk about a bad one, now that one, you know, that's when they come in, we do not want to go there, especially when Chatsworth is overflowing and packed to the seams, and Econ has plenty of room. So this is an easy solution, to keep it, everybody above the day school stuff. All right, let's see. Concession stand update, Mike?
Well, just as of this week, we had the latest meeting with the architect, and we're still answering questions about what's gonna actually go inside, how does it fit, what the measurements are. They're really close, probably, I think they talked about maybe within a week or so of being ready to give out the drawings for, Jeremy to actually start some grade work if we could. We're looking at new piping for drainage that's gonna go in, some of it we can put in now, some of it we're gonna wait, because it's gonna go in between where the concession building is now and where the, I guess, the merchandise store up there on the hill is. It's gonna come off the side of the field there, so we're gonna wait and do that one later, so we don't disrupt it while football's gonna start in the fall. But because of certain materials and labor and all that, there's probably a good chance that we're not gonna be starting the football season in the new concession building. It's just not probably gonna happen. We will have that under construction. We talked with Coach Napier about that. He kind of wanted to say, well, can we wait and do it after the football season then? And we're like, no, because if we put everybody off now, we might not get them back on the schedule to do it. So we're gonna be in construction during football season. If it's at all possible, we might could be in it toward the end of the season, but we'll just have to wait and see how that timetable falls and how much disruption we have in the construction process. But we definitely will have it in there by the end of football season, at the end of it, so that when football's over with, we may be able to tear down the old concession building, ticket booth, and go ahead and start doing the new entryway to it, and have it all completed by the time that soccer season rolls around in January or February.
Okay, KDS custodial. We don't have a hand, I got a hand out for that.
This discussion on KDS, it's got a couple of starting points on it, and I will talk to you. I got everybody. I think I had some great ones there. This discussion actually, we'll say we're gonna start it all the way back into probably October or so, okay? KDS called me, they had like everybody else, price increases on material they were doing, price increases on personnel. They had talked to me about going ahead at January and putting a 5% increase in their pricing for us. And I talked with Steve about it, and we were him-hawing around about, this is a bad time, right in the middle of their contract, or they asked us to do this. We didn't talk to y'all about it, because we didn't know for sure if they were gonna go ahead with it. They thought that they were waiting on us to talk to y'all about it, get approval, so ultimately what happened is, first year rolled around, they didn't put a 5% increase in, and then when I talked to them about it again and questioned them about it, they're like, well, we just assumed that the board didn't wanna do that, so we were gonna wait until it was time to negotiate the contract, and then put that 5% on the new contract for y'all. And we worked out our differences of what miscommunication was on that, and why it happened that way, but they were good for us. They said they didn't want to penalize us because we were good customers of theirs, and we paid bills on time, and we worked with them as much as they worked for us. Well, then other situations changed as well. We've had Miss Pat Shields down here that works in the ELC. She's our last Murray County custodian that works in that building. She partners up with Angela Bright, who we hired out of ESS to help her, because when James retired, there wasn't anybody to help her, and we had Joan and her and her mother Joan. Well, her mother Joan passed away, so then that just left the two ladies down here, and now Miss Pat's gonna retire, so Angela's the only one that we have left. So I went to Steve and talked with him about, hey, what are we gonna do, because we've lost our other one? Do we leave Angela on as an ESS employee and then move her to Spring Place? We've had absences at Spring Place due to some surgeries. We've had one guy that's had to take a medical leave for a while. We've got one that's been talking to Dr. Brock about retirement. He hasn't really formally announced retirement, but she's been talking to him about trying to get a date narrowed down. We've just lost another one to a medical leave down there at Spring Place now, because she's having some health issues that she's being seen by a doctor, and he's put her out until the middle of April. So Steve and I got to thinking about who we've got left, what their capabilities are. We almost feel like it would be more pertinent to bring those guys to this building, which has about 25 or 30,000 less square feet to clean. It's here close by us, so if they need help, Wanda can come from our location down there to help out like she's doing now. If Wanda's out, it allows somebody to come from that building up here to clean for us, and it doesn't make somebody have to drive from Spring Place. All common sense says, bring that group up here and put them in this building, and just go ahead and let KBS have Spring Place. They already waxed it for us last summer. They came in and waxed the building for us for summer school. They're familiar with that building already, and what we would like to suggest to you guys is to say, hey, can we let KBS take over Spring Place? In there, you've got emails where we talked about the price increase, we talked about the square footage of both of those buildings, the prices that it costs to clean those buildings. And what we did was we talked with them about, hey, can you give us a price for Spring Place? They did do that, but they said, hey, if y'all are going to give us more business and give us Spring Place Elementary School clean, we won't charge you a full 5%. We'll drop it back to 3% and just do a 3% increase, because we've already gotten a little extra business from y'all, and we'll offset that price increase that we were going to have to offset our budget, because we value y'all's customer relationship. So hopefully what you have now is the difference between what the price is per month, which is $111,000 per month is what we're paying right now, a little over $111,000. And then that new price would go to at the back is $127,900 some odd dollars per month. So it's going to be about an $18,000 increase per month, based on them taking over Spring Place and the 3% increase on what their total cost was. So our recommendation would be for you to see if that's allowable in y'all's perspective. If it's not, we can back up and go another direction. But that's what our suggestion would be for you guys to consider and possibly vote for Monday.
And currently, we've been having to get them to clean at night on the upstairs at Spring Place.
I don't know if they've actually started or not, Amelia, haven't they? we've got some missing spots downstairs with the lady that had taken medical leave, so we've moved all the custodians downstairs, and we're gonna let that clean the upstairs floors while she's out.
And we have informally floated it around, we had another company to come and Mike talked to them, and we floated it around, and, they basically said, that they couldn't do it any less. I mean, I thought it was nice, I mean, you know, he's a nice guy, we kind of got to know him, but he said, we can't, you know, maybe someday in the future, but he said, we'd be higher than that. And the good thing about where we're at is, you principals, here's where you chime in. It may not be great, but we're certainly better than where we were with ABM. Cause we don't have near the complaints or the things about the buildings being clean, so, we could rebid it, but, I don't know, you know, based on everything we found, we're not be worse off. We might be paying more, I mean, that's kind of how
In the times that we're in right now, I've been told by 2 different companies that you're gonna be higher if you rebid it right now. Even the company that we have, they said their rebid would be higher than it is right now. We have 5.5, 6.5 people each right now. One is retiring at the end of July.
we may lose a couple more.
And we may lose a couple more within this next year.
What's the current contract,
That contract only goes through June 1st of this year. If we renegotiate with them, they're gonna move it back to July 1 to June 30th, just so they've got time to get employees, hires and stuff.
What will be the plan? I mean, you say 2 more possibly retiring? What we gonna do when we plan, what's the plan when we get done for them, so?
Well, that's what,
In 3, I mean, because we're not hiring anymore, so what are we gonna do then?
well, that's where we think we'll probably work with some similar situation like we do now, because really, we don't have the capability without, you know, KBM helping us with spring place, just kind of on an hourly or a daily basis, because we couldn't clean spring place right now.
Right now, Peter's been the smallest building we have, correct? So you got down to probably 3, 3.5, and have to move
the
on
thing about Phoebus is they only have one daytime person that works there, and then they have a couple that go up there at night and do floors and bathrooms, that's it. So most likely, if we had 3, I'm just be honest with you, if we had 3, we probably wouldn't move them to Phoebus right away, because 3 people during the day, they'd be on top of each other at Phoebus because of square footage. We would probably isolate them to a certain area in this building and let KBS just take the other section of that building. Kind of like Steve said, what we're doing at Spring Place, giving the upper floor to KBS and us doing the downstairs.
But we're under contract right now, so we're gonna, like, is
The
there?
pricing won't change until July 1.
Oh, okay.
Because that would be the renegotiated contract.
So we're not gonna give them any more now? Okay.
They haven't asked us any. Right now, they're doing Spring Place as a favor.
I thought you were fixing to give them a bump on the current one. I'm like, that's awful generous.
No, we're not.
Okay, I feel better now. Well, I mean, cause if the contract runs out, everybody has to bid it anyway, and if ain't nobody gonna be, I mean, like, I'm a little confused what we're asking for.
When we did the
Just
contract.
for spring place?
Yes.
What we'll pay for Spring Place is, we'll pay for them to relax in June, because they did that to us last year. We paid an additional invoice for them, what it cost them to wax on it. But what they're helping us do right now is no different than what they've helped us in the past with, when they've helped us cover a shortage of personnel and cleaning and other person. They just sent a crew over and helped us, and they said they're doing that because we're good customers of theirs. And they're willing to help us do what's necessary in our schools.
So are we talking about next year's contract?
Yeah, we're talking about,
It'll be a contract that starts on July 1.
and it would be, you know, currently, if we did nothing, the 3% increase, next year's contract would be $114,665. If we go with Spring Place, that's what we're asking, is it would be $13,320 plus 114, and that's the 127, some odd number per month. That's what we're asking is just to review the contract with them at 127, whatever per month.
No, 114 basically is 3% increase. We weren't doing spring place, it'd be a little higher, but they wanted a 5% increase.
I was afraid just trying to get it done for the next couple of months.
Other than that, they gotta finish out this contract first.
That's why we didn't, they didn't want to go up, but we've been holding out.
And we discussed why, and we didn't think it was fair for them to change it in the middle of the contract. And we voiced that to them, and they thought that was fair, they understood.
I don't want to, I mean, they deal.
Any other questions? All right, moving on. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Mike. Next, we're moving on to fiscal accountability, or SPOS element.
I don't think I've ever heard Mike talk that much. If you look at your packet for tonight on the sales tax, I just got those numbers today, so you should have them. I think Bruce, you got them in your packet. But we compare March of this month to March this time last year, you can see we're getting closer to our numbers that we were previously. So
It fell off a lot.
it did fall off.
$60,000.
It fell off. Well, it fell off from our 500,000 that we were getting.
I've come to get used to that.
But it's still trending a little higher than it was this time last year. Yeah, we enjoyed those 3 months of high revenues for sure. And we'll just have to watch to see what happens. See, we're getting very close to our cap. Next month, we get close to exceeding that.
Probably hit it in May.
Yeah.
What happens when you hit the camp?
Well, because it's in a new quarter, this current SPOS ends in June 30th of 2022. If we hit the cap in May of 2022, then it will remain in effect until the end of the quarter, which would be June 30th of 2022. So the old one cuts off anyway. So then the new SPOS starts July 1 of 2022. So if you hit your cap on the maximum collection amount authorized by the voters, it doesn't stop until the end of the quarter. So let's say we were in January and we hit the cap, then it would stop March 31st. But at the end of the quarter, it stops anyway, and the new one takes effect July 1. So
You'll collect money over the quote max?
yeah, you can't because it doesn't. It's just the way that
Is that money regulated on how it's used, or it just goes in the pot?
SPOS. Yeah, it has to go based on what was approved by the voters in the 2016 SPOS referendum, which is Murray County High School athletics, Glad Middle School, or Spring Place. We've got it built. We got so those are the big things.
So with that being said, and hopefully in May, we will exceed that cap. And then we'll be able to collect on the way through June, with July being our last collection. And then hopefully that excess loss will be able to be something that we can use not only to finish the track, which is something that we've got it earmarked for, but some of the other things that have been talked about tonight. So I'm just keeping my eye on that and hoping that excess loss comes in as high as what we anticipate it to be. Any questions on that? Okay. If you want to look at your next, your balance sheets, you can see, where our, total assets and liabilities, compared to this time last year. The difference being the cash increase, coming from property taxes and other local taxes that have come in, a lot higher and a lot quicker this year, put it that way. And then, so we have open purchase orders down there of around 494,000, which is pretty low for this time of the year, but we are doing well on our cash flow. Any questions on the balance sheet? The next sheet just is a breakdown of the revenues, where we compare this year we're around 43 million in revenues, which is around 73% of our budget, compared to around 39 million this time last year, which was around 71%. On expenditures, the next page, we're around 39 million on expenditures, which is around 65% of our budget, and we were around 39 million of our expenditures last year. So the last sheet is showing us that we have an excess of revenues over expenditures. That's always a good sign. And then you take where we're at right now with our fund balance, then we are estimating a high fund balance at 17 million compared to where we thought we might be when we proposed the budget. So any questions on the revenues and expenditures? Okay, I'm gonna move on. The next sheet, you see where that cash flow that we're talking about, that excess cash, I've got in investments around 11.7 million, and our interest is finally going up. So we're finally starting to make a little bit more in interest. So we've collected around $4,000 in interest now since we started that investment. Lastly, on the CARES breakdown I have for you, Aaron, I added that extra information in there for you.
That's
The amount set aside for FY23 and FY24 at the 6.5 million. So we have a balance remaining of around 2.4 million. And I'm not even gonna look at Roger Rainey, because I know what he's sitting over there thinking. He's sitting there thinking, well, then why am I having to figure out how to pay for furniture? So let's talk a little bit about the 2.4 million. If I gave that to Mike and Chris Crow right now, that would be completely gone in HVAC controls. It would take more than 2.4 million to do the HVAC control projects that we have lined up. If we don't do the HVAC controls out of the CARES money, then I've got Barbie and Spencer here tonight, and Kelly. They need money for curriculum, which would probably be over $1 million. So they would like to have some of that 2.4 million. The schools would like for us to use some of that money to buy this school furniture. So everybody has a need for that money. Right. So what we're trying to do is balance what we know and what we don't know. We don't know yet how much excess loss we're gonna have. We don't know that. Because if we do, we have some excess loss above and beyond what we're putting in the track, then we might take some things from that. We also are looking at how we're gonna finish this school year. So far, we're finishing, estimated to finish with a surplus. Well, then we could go ahead and maybe spend some of our money, our local money, to do some of the things we need to do, such as HVAC controls, curriculum, furniture. Rochelle, she's also waiting to see how her federal allocations come in. If they come in as high as what they think they might, or what they're telling her they might be, we might be able to move some of our CARES expenses, such as our intervention teachers, our art teachers, some of those expenses, over to Rochelle, let her absorb those in the federal money, and take care of that excess on that side. And then that'll free up more money of the CARES money that I have sitting in that $6.5 million, because right now I've got enough in there to cover all those things for the next 2 school years. That includes some of your wish list monies and that money too. So, setting aside what we are currently paying for leaves the 2.4, but the 2.4 could be gone in a couple, about 3 POs, just like that. So the 271,000 that we have left in CARES 2, I'll probably allocate that for summer school. By the time we do the salaries, the benefits, and whatever needs they have for summer school, a little bit of that, most of that money could be gone. So there's lots of ways that we can dice this money, and but we want to get the most benefit we can from it. We want to accomplish everything that we can right now with that money, but we're trying to see what we need to pay from what, from which fund. So there's lots of ways we can look at it, and we'll probably look at this more in depth when we do our budget meeting. We're gonna look more at the CARES money. I'll give you a breakdown of the current budget and CARES. It breaks down every line item where you can see exactly how the money is set aside and what we're spending it for, okay? So any questions on CARES?
In other words, you're just saying Roger's out of luck.
Not yet, not yet, not yet.
Sorry.
I think you're saying we're gonna spend the, spend money with the most strings first. And then that leaves the most flexibility later.
Well, I look at it as an educator in the sense that I think CARES money was given to school districts to benefit the children. That's what the CARES money is for. And so when you think about how are we using that now, I think everything that we're using CARES money for, we're giving schools money to buy the things they need for the classrooms. We're providing intervention teachers to help our children. We're providing art teachers to help our children. We're providing lots of good things out of CARES money. And I think that we're doing that to help our students. So if you look at it through those glasses, then it makes the curriculum look like that's maybe where we need to spend the money, as well as the furniture for the students and for the kids. Now, do we all like HVAC? Yes. We like that, and that's all important too. So,
This might be the wrong time to ask, what school year will we have finished up we've got curriculum and everything?
We should be completing that. That's what we're presently doing.
But we'll have that will be for this coming
Science and
school
social
year.
This coming school, the science and social studies, that's the last one.
And then everybody will have some.
In the high school, EOC courses will have curriculum.
What about like middle school?
Yes, science, social studies, mostly.
And then is there any asterisks there that like elementary school, we're missing this little wedge, but
That based on the survey, all the teachers have reviewed the products through videos and have access to it. We have taken input from teachers. So presently, and we've talked to the elementary principals about this, K1 and 2, I believe, elected for resources in science and social studies because there's just not a real strong aligned curriculum for the science and social studies, but 3 through 8 will have a science and social studies curriculum. So that's kind of where we're at. That's not final. We're still waiting on a couple of, responses, but based on what our teachers have said, that's what they are including.
So
Everything will be, okay, elementary, middle, and EOC high school.
In 2 years from next year, ELA starts over again. And then, yes, it's like, it's the wheel.
start voting high.
So I know that Spencer was working on the titles, but I think to purchase outright it was a little over $1 million, wasn't it?
We're looking at different quotes and coming back with specific numbers, but yes, I think so. We're getting that definitely.
And I told him we may look at doing a 3-year, or extending that over 2 or 3 school years, doing the payment plan, and going ahead and using our. So we got lots of decisions to make this year during the budget for sure, in what direction we want to go. And, Mike and Chris, I worked hand in hand with them to help get the HVAC controls. We've done some of that out of CARES too already. And that's important too. So I support them and what we're doing to help upgrade our facilities as well. It's all important. And the good news is that we are blessed to have had this money to do all that we've done and what we are doing, but we also have sales tax, we also have excess laws, we also have a lot of property tax coming in. So it's a good time to do some of these things because we have the additional revenue.
How much, you said property taxes are better, how much is the state going to end up taking that back away next year?
We don't know, we haven't got our final list.
Didn't we get shanked on that like last year?
Year before last.
Okay.
Yeah, when the equalization, last year it went up, year before last, our property tax went up, the equalization went down $1 million, so we really got.
That didn't work out, so I'm just wondering if it's, like, are we fixing to take another one of them where they think we're a rich district?
We don't know, that's the thing, is you never know. It's how you rank within all the 180 districts, and you never know. You don't know. I've always said there are really 2 people in the entire state of Georgia that really knows now probably how the equalization is going to come out for next fiscal year, and they don't let them 2 ride in the same car together at the same time. Because it's very, you just don't know. There's no way to know. But we'll know probably in a couple of weeks when we get looked
The
together.
first preliminary does not have the equalization in it.
Yeah.
Right now. So that's to our benefit. But whatever they consider our fair share to be may go up. So what we gain by not having that deduction, we may end up giving up because they feel like we can afford to do more. We'll just have to wait and see. Now let's talk about spending money. So we have 3 purchase orders. You've got one. These are CARES 3, and they were included in that open purchase order amount that's on that form for you, Aaron. So you've got technology, the purchase of $32,110. That is for headphones for district-wide, correct, district?
Yes, correct.
Is this replacements?
This is some replacements. It's a lot. They've already given out a ton of what we had before, and that seemed to be widespread. They were asking for more headphones to give out, so we got something a lot more sturdy. And next year, we're going to include that in our Chromebook insurance as well. So if they mess them up, they'll pay, if they get those back too. So.
I know that lots of schools have been asking for headphones, so this will hopefully take care of that need. The next one is also technology. This is $56,478.20, also coming from CARES Act, and this is for cameras for Northwest. assuming replacing or addition?
Yes, it's replacing the thing there, right?
These are the new, cameras, since we're gonna be, finishing up renovation at Northwest, these are the cloud-based
Yes.
storage cameras.
Roger can't be too mad at it.
That's right.
They will be able to see them burglars when they come in Christmas break.
I think don't they activate it at night too?
These are, yeah, they do have night vision and they record 24/7 also, so no more of the movement, that kind of thing. Much higher quality.
The last one is school nutrition. It's for $50,000. This is for Woodlawn Elementary and, for decor there. Similar to what she's been doing at some of the other schools, that school nutrition funds is paying for that. We have
Where did you say this one is for?
Woodlawn.
Woodlawn, I missed that part, sorry.
The last two you have there are FYIs. One is for Murray County High School. The other is some maintenance department software. And then I added a third one in there, and that's for Murray County High School for the stage. You should have 3 FYIs actually. So do you have any questions about the others? So that it all this month.
Anybody have any questions? All right, the next item we have, one field trip there, band chorus, North Murray High School. We used it in the parks competition in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I believe that's the only one we have. Any questions about that? All right, next, just a quick enrollment update. We have this area there, we had kindergarten registration, and so that's always really important.
Yeah, just real quick, we did have kindergarten registration last week at the elementary schools on Thursday, and pre-K registration at the pre-K center on Saturday. We once again did our registrations, online, and, as far as I could tell, everything went smooth. I made it around to all of the elementary schools last Thursday, and I was at the pre-K center on Saturday. Last year at this time, we had 65 pre-K registrations completed and 117 kindergarten. This year, so far, we have 183 pre-K applications completed and 300 kindergarten finished. So, very impressed with those numbers. And we are going to try to continue to get people to come in to get those registrations done now. On Friday, April the 8th, we've got an Infinite Campus training with everybody to give them a little refresher on how to properly do those applications, approve those applications in the linked households with kids that are already in our school district. So we'll have a 2-hour training on that, and then we'll start working on approving those applications. Any questions? On the pre-K, how many slots, like every year, how many slots is available down there for students? Like, I know is there 183 slots, like, will all these kids get pre-K?
There's, yeah, well, right now we have 13 classes, so there's, 286 spots.
Oh, okay, so, that's
Sorry, I
right.
did a quick math, yeah, 286 spots, yes.
Usually, we don't have those numbers filled up until around July, and then we start a waiting list.
Yes.
Gotcha, okay. So these kids, we get them approved and.
Yes.
22, unless it's an inclusion question. Yes, and then it's an 18.
Any other questions?
All right, the next item we have is in summer school. I had, sent y'all an email pertaining to discussions we had about summer school. So Harvey, you got that, can you want to come up here and kind of go over, what y'all, the principals,
Yes.
what we've done maybe about summer school, what we're looking to do. And, of course, we would ask on Monday night to you to, approve it. The reason why we would need you to vote is just, you think about it from a physical standpoint, it's gonna be operating outside of the current budget that we have. We had the budget for next year, so we can't, we've gotta make, summer school, we've gotta get the letters out and all those things, but we're operating not part of our current budget that's been approved. So that's why, if we had all the budget approved for next year, then it would be different. So that's why we approved this, and the budget, whatever we spend, anything that comes out of CARES, as Kathy had mentioned, she put it in the budget for CARES, so.
Okay, our group, Spencer, Kelly, and I worked with the committee. Pam Rich was on the committee, back then Dr. Winkler was on the committee, and Dr. Brock was on the committee. And this year for summer school, the focus was different. Last year we were looking at capturing as many students as we could who had learning that was missed due to getting out of school in March. So we did have a lot of participants last year in the 900s. This year the focus is a little different. And what we're going to focus on is students who are currently failing in grades 3 through 8, and then other students who may not be up to grade level based on their already scores. So, like I said, the focus is more narrow. So what we decided to do is to set a certain number of seats available for students who had 2 or more failing grades. So that would be some of the students. And then we allotted each elementary school seats based on the failing grades or students that priorities based on already learning. So that's how we determined who our group was. We did not put K through 2 in the group because we feel like that we're making a lot of great progress with them, and we feel like we got a lot of very good interventions with them. And if we continue those, that they're going to be up where they need to be in by the time we get to 3rd grade. And kind of looking at attendance, the upper grade students, based on the measures also, when we look at the data that we could pull, the students, the older the students were, it seemed that the more progress that they made. So we felt like in narrowing that focus to focus on the students that were going to make the most progress.
If these kids come to summer school and they raise those failing grades up, they can go on to next grade. But if they don't raise those grades up, then they're just going to repeat.
If they do not attend summer school, that definitely you're going to look at repeating.
What if they don't raise their scores up, if they're still not passing?
If they're not showing any progress, then it'd be a conversation to have with the principal. That's what we did last year. If the students did not attend, there was no discussion. If they did attend, and we talked to each of the principals and, got a feel from what your thoughts, and if they did come to summer school, they met the attendance criteria that we set and they participated. So after speaking with each individual, I know I had conversations with Shalina, I had conversations with Amelia because it was middle school at that time, because it was mainly the middle schools that had failing grades. So based on those conversations, we made the decision to promote them or not.
Any questions about summer school?
Looking in is pretty self-explanatory. But what we're using, the curriculum is going to be provided through our Ready Math, and it's not going to cost us anything. And I think everyone loves iReady, and so that will be a large piece of it. And my path, so the students will have an individual pathway they're working on, in addition to a lesson, a daily lesson that actually is going to be teaching priority standards for their upcoming grade. So if they're a third grader, they're going to be priority standards for their fourth grade year. So we're excited about that. For it being more of an acceleration for the student instead of a remediation. That they will get the remediation with the mind path, because that will be individualized. So any skills they're lacking, that'll kind of fill in those areas. And you look at the staff that we have allotted based on the numbers. And then our locations also, we did decide to work out of one location, north and south, and that will help on transportation. And we will still have admin that will cover the grade plans, because the students will be separated, based on their grade plan.
Well, the big unknown, I mean, is, at, Gladden, we may, depending on furniture, delivery, that location could be Chatsworth, if we, just depending on furniture, there's a lot of moving factors. So Chatsworth, it would work at Chatsworth as well as at Gladden.
And then the only other thing is we did put a parent letter in there, and it does say April 1st, but obviously we will not, if you don't vote on this, I don't even, if you're planning on voting on it, we will not vote on, send this letter out until it's voted on. If it's Monday, the letter will go out, principal on Tuesday, so we'll look at that based on what you guys decide to do. So there's a copy of the letter.
When do the report cards go out?
Actually, like Friday, that's when
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
That would be a good day for this to go out.
So look out.
I mean,
Yes.
you know who it's gonna be, right? So that way they would at least get it at the same time, because sometimes patients get lost.
So you guys are okay with that?
Well, that's what you got sent, the email, when it was several weeks ago, so if you can, and the reason why, is, is you see the time frame there that it's operating on, is to go back, we can't, we hadn't done a budget for next year, so we don't, we can't, that's why we gotta get, of course, we passed July the 1st. Now, we'll get a budget, of course, but it's just the timing.
So you saying we can't vote on it tonight?
Yeah, no, you can vote on it now. That's why we need a budget, because we don't have a budget for next year. But if y'all approve us to do that, then we can go ahead and do it. It's kind of like the old days when they used to have textbook adoption. Or to vote to approve the textbook purchase, but you didn't have a budget, but you had it's just a timing thing.
I want to go back to the curriculum piece of it. Eighth graders that will be attending, they will be doing, for upcoming ninth graders, we do have an algebra, they did an algebra program that will continue to go to that, so we'll continue that. I think that's included, listed. So there is something for high school, but the other students will go around the 45 credit program. But they will be working with the 29 graders. Yes.
Does anybody have a problem voting on this tonight? All right, then I need a motion that we approve the summer school plan for summer 2022 as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Renda, second by Conrad, all in favor? Any opposed?
Okay, thank y'all. That's it. No, we have any, no,
All right, they need a motion to go into executive session. Motion by Kelly, second by Linda, all in favor?
Yeah, we can vote on that tonight, right?
On what?
The board seat,
No.
I mean,
We'll discuss it after